Yo, what's going on, people, and welcome back to Magnum Football. It's your boy Demeachnyc. Follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. Follow me on X and follow me and subscribe on X and YouTube if you haven't already, my guys. And today is not going to be a crazy one. This isn't going to be a long video because I only watched really one game out of hand, and that game was the Bournemouth against Tottenham fixture today. Bournemouth 1, Tottenham nil. And to be honest with you, after watching both teams play today and watching them over the course of this season, I'm not surprised. And you guys shouldn't be either if you have been watching this season in the Premier League, if you've been watching Bournemouth and Tottenham at hand. It's not a surprise that Bournemouth beat Tottenham. It's not a surprise at all. And it's not a surprise as to how they beat Tottenham as well. So let's dive right into it. First things first, I got to give praise to the team that won at hand because they deserve it. Bournemouth, I thought they played a great game of football today. I thought the manager got it right. Certain players definitely stood out for me today in terms of I thought Evan Nilsson did a good job. I thought Tyler Adams played well. My Captain America, you already know. Big up Tyler Adams, holding it down. The Premier League, got a shout out to them American boys. I thought Tyler Adams played well today. Evan Nilsson played well. I thought Semenyo played a good role. However, there's one player on Bournemouth that I do have to shout out, and that is Clivert. I've always had a fond of him because of his father. He's one of the all-time greats. And for you to be able to not necessarily pick up those same shoes, but make a name of yourself one way or another, Clivert, shout out to him. He had to come off the pitch because he was on a yellow card, and he did not want to get the next yellow card or get suspended for whatever reason. So he had to come off the pitch, and I think that was a good call. But he played very well today. I thought the man who scored today, though, Hyson or Hassan, I believe. Yes, he's Dutch. It's a hard name to pronounce. But Hassan, the 19-year-old defender, he scored a great header. A set piece. A set piece. It seems like football is just being taken over by these set pieces, and the ones that are doing it right now is Tottenham's rivals Arsenal. But yes, it was on a set piece earlier on in the game. About 20 odd minutes into the game, they scored, and it was a good goal by Hassan. It was a great goal, and Bournemouth did what they needed to do. Right? You have to look at the games at hand, guys. Right? It's not about having possession. It's not about having more shots. It's not about how well you can play out from the back. It's not how well you can do all these things. Right? Many of these things that I just named are very important in football. Right? Many teams do these things. Many teams rely on expected goals against in order to win games and to not lose and to concede less. But the point of the matter is in football is that you have to win the game that's in front of you. And that's what Bournemouth did. I have to give them a lot of credit because I thought a lot of their players stood out today, attacking wise and defensively. I thought Bournemouth probably could have scored more goals. And Dango Tora, if you're watching this or if you will watch this, I'm telling you, you have to put away those chances, my friend. Those chances that you had in front of goal today could have definitely made more of a name for yourself and also for Bournemouth as well. Bournemouth did not deserve to only just win 1-0, but they should have scored at least 2 or 3 more, right? There were so many chances that they had. And by the way, they could have went 2-0 up if Evan Nilsson stayed onside. But the way I saw it, I thought that if he was in an onside position, he would have never scored that goal because he was in an offside position and he got to the ball first. And that the Tottenham defender, I'm not too sure if it was Davies or someone else, got to that ball so fast, which is shocking because that was a really fast, almost recovery for a defensive mistake. And he just was offsides in the moment. And you can't really say anything about it besides that's unfortunate. Other than that, Bournemouth played a great game of football, and I give them a lot of kudos. As for the North London Giants, or if I should even say Giants at this point, Tottenham. A wise man once said, Spurs, Spursy. Spurs are Spursy. and it seems to be very hard to get it out of their system, right? And there's so many ways I can look at this. Can I approach this with the manager? Do I approach this with the players on the pitch? Is there reasons as to why they can beat Manchester City 4-0, yet lose 2-1 at Ipswich, lose 1-0 to Bournemouth? Uh, I think absolutely. If you look at their team, they're a team that really rely on the transition. When you have players like Heung-min Son, when you got guys like Timo Werner, when you got guys like Brennan Johnson, Dominic Solanke, and Dejan Kulusevski, right? You are a dangerous team no matter what, right? I'll say it again. When you have the likes of players like I just mentioned on your squad, you are a dangerous team, no doubt about it. Because your attacking front will score goals. They will cause problems. There is no doubt about that. Also, not to mention James Madison as well, who seems to always be the one orchestrating a lot of these attacking approaches that Tottenham have. But, and I mean but, you will get caught defensively if your defense is not sound, if your midfield is non-existent, right? And that is the epitome of Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. They seem to not be able to get their pretty much stuff together. They can't get their attacking and their defensive units intact. And we all know the high line by Spurs, by Ange Postecoglou. We saw a lot last season, and he had a lot of success, and he had a lot of shortcomings. But, you have to look at the record now. You have to look at the certain pattern, right? He's lost several games to the top six sides already. I'm pretty sure he's lost more than he's won, right? I can assure you that. He's lost to every one of those teams in the top six. Not only has he lost to those teams, but the teams that he's now playing against are not considerably the biggest threats in the Premier League in terms of chasing the title, right? Bournemouth are great, but they're not a team where you're looking for the title. They're not a team that you can even say is going to make top four. But what does that even mean, though? So if you are a team like Spurs and you have a coach like Ange Postecoglou and you have the players that I just mentioned, you have to be better than that. You have to be a team that's able to take the game for what it is. And you are the favorites going into the game. And Spurs have a lot higher expectations than Bournemouth. But again, it's the way they play, the style of play. It's the players that are on the pitch that make it no coincidence that if you were to predict a loss for Spurs, which I did predict, not necessarily did I predict, I'll be completely honest, but on my Twitter I did mention that if Spurs do lose today, that there will be a lot of consequences that come with it. And there was pressure going into this game. All the teams that had played prior to them, the big teams in the Premier League, they had played and they had won. Maybe besides Manchester United. But Manchester United are in a completely different phase, in a completely different direction than Tottenham right now. Right. They're way behind in their project of what they want to actually do in the near future. However, with Spurs have had Ange for a season now. They've had a long summer, and I think they failed over the summer, and I think that's the big thing. I think Ange Postecoglou failed. I don't think he addressed the players and the positions that needed to be taken and needed to be occupied in order for Spurs to get from here to here. I think he absolutely botched it, and he's going to take a lot of fault for that. And there's going to be more hell for that to pay. There's going to be more hell to pay. And Spurs have a big job this weekend. A big job. They got to play Chelsea this weekend, who are on absolute smoke, Chelsea at the moment. And if they are to lose to Chelsea, then Big Ange has a lot of questions to answer. Because honestly, Spurs really don't have a reason to be where they are. They got fifth place last season with a new manager. They showed a lot of potential going into the season, and it seems to be underwhelming. And I know injuries are a bit of a thing right now, but they are absolutely no doubt a team that should be much higher than where they are right now, regardless of the injuries, right? So really and truly, I'm not surprised that Spurs lost today. It just seems to be what Spurs are making of right now. They step up when they have the big teams to play, like Manchester City. But in terms of when it's a general game and it's not necessarily against a big team and they have the players there on the pitch in order to perform, they just don't seem to perform. It seems like the other team wants it more than them. And the thing is that I do see is that when they play against teams like Bournemouth and Ipswich, they're going up against teams that have almost the same sort of game plan and the same blueprint that Tottenham do, win in the transition. So it's pretty much the teams that win in the transition game, right? Which team is going to win the transition game more than the other? Is it going to be Tottenham or is it going to be Ipswich? They lost. Is it going to be Bournemouth or is it going to be Tottenham? They lost. Is it going to be Manchester City or is it going to be Tottenham? And Tottenham won. So it is definitely a sense of they're going to win this, they're going to win that, and then they're going to lose this and they're going to lose that. So there's so many different aspects to Tottenham that you can look at. I think if you're a fan of Tottenham, it can be completely frustrating sometimes, but it can be over the moon on other days. And today is not one of those days where you can sit back and be like, yeah, I'm over the moon because they freaking lost today. So that's what I got for Spurs. They do have injuries. Mickey Van de Ven, he is injured. Christian Romero is injured at the moment. And, you know, Udogie, Petro-Porro, they're trying to hold it down. But the two center backs they have at the moment, Ben Davies, and also not to mention Vicario is injured as well. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them, but you have to cope. All the teams are trying to cope with injuries. It's been a very unfortunate season when it comes to these injuries. The best players in the Premier League and really just in world football have been absent for quite a while, and it's a big blow, but it is what it is, and I expect much better from Spurs. I really do. That's what I got for today, guys. Not too much to say. Wasn't really the biggest game where you can say much. However, in other news, Fulham did beat Brighton in a 3-1 victory over Brighton. Alex Iwobi is doing a madness right now, so you have to look at him and say, listen, Fulham have a big test coming up over the weekend against Arsenal, and hopefully they try to do something against Arsenal because they are a good team, and they're a team not to really overlook right now. And there's many teams in the Premier League that are looking like that. And Fulham is definitely one of those teams, and Bournemouth as well are one of those teams. So that's all I got for today, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. Have a good night.